Mangwanani Malelepo Vukenjani Kaipas Vanawe Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening in the Sadaq region and beyond. As usual, you're joined by Ashwin Bedi and Aina Raiza Kweo.
Welcome to Thursday and happy Thursday, everyone. Today is Desmond Tutu's birthday. Desmond Tutu was born on the 7th of October 1931. Tutu became Bishop of Johannesburg and in 1986, the Archbishop of Cape Town and the most senior position in the Southern Africa's Anglican hierarchy. In this position, he emphasized a consensus-building model of leadership and oversaw the introduction of female priests. Happy birthday, Desmond Tutu. We celebrate you, and here is more on that.
Strike it gold and win 5,000 Namibian dollars in cash with Neo Paints. Simply buy Neo Paints products from the selected range and stand a chance to get one of 12 mystery buckets filled with gold paint. All 12 winners will each get 3 extra paint buckets equal to their purchase. One to replace the gold paint, the second to use on your project, and the third to give to a charity of their choice. One winner can score another 10,000 Namibian dollars by showing us your creative use of the golden paint. The best project wins the cash. Offer is valid from 27 September to 18 December at your favorite hardware store nationwide. Visit us at neopaints.com for more competition details and follow us on Facebook for weekly competition updates. Neopaints, a coat of excellence.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning, and here are the news-making headlines. Virus is not controlled nor pandemic defeated. The responsible for the managing COVID at the World Health Organization, Maria van Kerkhove, warned today that the new coronavirus is still not under control, with many people wrongly believing that the pandemic is almost over. According to the official, 3.1 million new infections and 54,000 deaths were reported worldwide last week, with the actual numbers likely to be much higher. The situation is still incredibly dynamic, and it's dynamic because we have no control over the virus, said the U.S. epidemiologist in a live chat on the WHO social media. Maria van Kerkhove has also lamented that in some cities, intensive care units and hospitals are saturated with people dying, while people in the streets behave as if the pandemic is completely over. The official also pointed out that the deaths occurred largely among people who were not vaccinated.
And in our Science in 5 section, you will see Maria van Kerkhove talking and disseminating important information with regards to COVID-19. But next up, we are talking about Sadaq in Cabo Delgado. The latest military developments in the Mozambican province of Cabo Delgado are having foreseen effects. The mission, judging by the latest developments, is still proving to be one of the best measures taken by the sub-region as a whole. It is a remarkable example of a community that must continue to speak with one voice, respond to the challenges it faces as everyone's problems, and provide a regional solution to the challenges that a particular member faces. By authorizing the deployment of military forces in northern Mozambique to fight the armed rebellion of a religious nature, the Mozambican authorities correctly read the events related to the rebellion, security in the northern part, and in the entire surrounding region. The Sadaq mission had arrived in August of this year, and the latest performance information shows clear progress. A few days ago, President Filipe Nyusi reached out to the rebels who want to surrender, a gesture that the Mozambican authorities made shortly after reports of the leader of the Anza al-Sunna group was killed.
Algeria escalates France's dispute with a flight ban. The diplomatic discord between Algeria and France has deepened on Sunday after Algiers banned French military planes from its airspace, its latest response to a row over visas and critical comments from President of France, Emmanuel Macron. France's jets regularly fly over the former French colony to reach the Sahel region of Western Africa, where its soldiers are helping to battle jihadist insurgents as part of its Barkhane operation. The army had received no official notification of the flight ban, he added, but the move heightened tension that had already flared Saturday when the Algerian government recalled its ambassador to France, citing inadmissible interference in its affairs. Saturday's ambassador recall was the second time it had done so, having taken a similar response in May 2020 after French media broadcast a documentary about the Iraq movement.
Angolan vessels accused of stealing Namibian fish. The Namibian government says its northern counterpart has been ignoring damning reports of Angolan vessels sneaking into Namibian waters at night to steal fish. The Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources says at least 23 vessels have been detected as taking part in illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing activities in Namibian waters since 2017. The Angolan Fisheries Ministry is accused of ignoring several reports detailing this illegal fishing. Executive Director of Fisheries and Marine Resources Anneli Haifene last month told the Namibian some large vessels with no visible vessel markings could be found border hopping with fishing gears in Namibian waters. The ministry has since roped in the Namibian police and the Namibian Navy in an attempt to deter, prevent and curb illegal fishing in the exclusive economic zone. Haifene said the ministry has since increased its sea presence, and since mid-2019, no foreign illegal, unreported and unregulated fishing activities have been recorded.
Africa's businesses count losses after Facebook outage. African business owners who depend on social media to drive their sales are counting losses that incurred during a 6-hour outage of Facebook, WhatsApp and Instagram. Experts says that the e-commerce services, which have registered tremendous growth on the continent during the pandemic, were the most affected. Those who receive the biggest hit are freelancers and owners of small stores, unlike big stores which have websites. Digital marketing expert Karen Wambungu told BBC. She added, when social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram were not working, small stores cannot process their sales because they do not have other alternatives. A businesswoman in Ghana who runs an online and in-person restaurant in the capital Accra said the outage happened at the busy lunchtime hours. 80% of our orders come from the online customers. Only a few customers who could drive during the heavy traffic could come to the restaurant, she said.
All right, now in Botswana, alcohol body condemns wild behavior. The Botswana Beverage Association has condemned reckless behavior displayed by some alcohol consumers over the Independence Day holiday. This follows the end of an 18-month state of public emergency on 30 September. A ban on the sale of alcohol was lifted, which provided welcome relief for the industry and consumers. But the Botswana Beverage Association President Peter Noke, in a statement on Monday, said they are disappointed with the behavior displayed over the long weekend. On behalf of our members, we would like to condemn in the strongest terms the mass assembly of members of the general public at public parking lots over the independence holidays. Not only is this unlawful, it violates COVID-19 protocols. For many at these venues do not sanitize nor wear protective masks, Noke said in a statement. We remind all that the end of SOE is not a license to flout COVID-19 protocols, and that the privilege to consume alcohol can be taken away at any time, he said.
Dream of ending poverty fades. Lesotho is not anywhere near its dream of ending absolute poverty and boosting shared prosperity in a sustainable manner, according to a World Bank systematic country diagnostic report. The report says Lesotho is not getting closer to achieving its developmental goals ever since the first systematic country diagnostic report was published in 2015. The report says there is a lack of private sector-led economy, youth unemployment, inequality, collapse of biodiversity, and a disconnection between policy, budgets, and intentions. These, the findings says, are the result of political instability, lack of stakeholder engagement both in project planning and implementation. They are also a result of limited accountability in public sector amid weak citizen demands of accountability, amongst other things.
Now, swinging back to Botswana, government faces tough choices over civil service wage bill. For more than 10 years, government has delayed reforms to reduce the civil wage bill, a socially and politically sensitive move that could disrupt hundreds of thousands of livelihoods and worsen the troubles in the broader economy. Former Finance Minister Thapelo Matseka, in February's budget speech, had noted the unsustainable level of the public service wage bill as a major challenge facing government and promised interventions. Last week, Matseka's successor, Peggy Serame, hinted that in the coming financial year, some of the reforms would come via a faster rollout of government's e-service initiatives and other efficiency initiatives. This is critical as we do not have sufficient financial buffers in the government investment account, which declined during 2020 for the hundreds of thousands of civil servants and their families.
In our next story, EMA to start mega drug test. Drug maker Merck says last week that the after clinic trial, its drugs are called molnupiravir, halved rather the risk of hospitalization and death of patients with COVID-19, which could also be a significant step forward in the fight against the pandemic. We are considering starting a continuous examination of this compound in the next few days, said Marco Cavallari, responsible for the vaccination strategy at the European regulator. The EMA, which is based in Amsterdam, took note of the first result reported by a company, Merck, on this new drug. Cavallari added at the press conference, the American laboratory announced on Friday that it planned to request authorization in the United States to market the drug soon.
In our next story, say goodbye to WhatsApp from November if you are using one of the phones listed below. In the current generation, WhatsApp is one of the most used social media platforms for communication. This is because it's private. You can make a voice call as well as a video call, send a voice note, you can share files like audio, video, documents, and images. You can also create a group where you can discuss matters that you can share in common. As of November, some mobile phones, both Android and iOS, may lose the capacity to send messages and photographs or video through the popular platform. Mobile models with Android 4.4 or prior and iPhones with iOS 9 or older will be affected. This means that telephone models using this technology will lose the use of the application. So with Samsung, it's the Galaxy S3 Mini, Trend 2, Trend Lite, Core, and Ace 2. With LG, it's Optimus F7, F5, R3 2 Dual, F7 to F5 II. In Sony, it's Xperia, Huawei, Ascend Mate, and Ascend D2. And with Apple, it's iPhone SE, 6S, and 6S Plus. It's time to upgrade, huh?
It's time to upgrade. Now, in our next story, Maasai gives up nomadic lifestyle due to climate change. In Kangalitai village in Tekina County, the traditional dance welcome everyday's activities. But today, the villagers are not holding a traditional heading stick that usually accompany the dance. Instead, they have farming tools like mattocks, spades, and pangas ready for them to start work with when the dance ends. This is a huge cultural shift and one the tribe says it's a shock of a lifetime. Over in Kinjado County, pastoralist Mayani Malonye tends to his cattle. He said he was raised between the plains of Maasai Mara and the hills of Odolon Sabuk, an expansive divided by more than 300 kilometers of savanna grassland. Melonye believes he is the last of his generation to live the life of a traditional Maasai nomad. In a year, I could go in a complete circle. I would pass through Mikudu, through Vio, Namaga, into Tanzania, to Olinkoto, Oredige, all around and back home. That time it would have rained here again and the circle would begin. I don't think our children will know that nomadic tradition. It's over, he says.
Truly saddening news, especially when it's the people who have interacted the best with nature. Now, in the last of our top stories, the late Dr. Kenneth Kawundas' secretary dies. Secretary to Zambia's founding father and first president, the late Dr. Kenneth Kawunda, Dr. Gloria Sleep, has died, authorities confirm. She was the late president's secretary from the time he became prime minister of Northern Rhodesia in January 1964. She recently said of Dr. Kawunda after his passing in June 2021, "He was a huge part of my life, and I will always hold a special place in my heart as I mourn with his family and all Zambians." This was a senior position usually occupied by single ladies without family responsibilities. So I was rather surprised when I first walked into his office. I was impressed by this man full of charm who radiated energy and enthusiasm which brushed off on all who met him. It was an exciting time to be part of this team of his very loyal staff. We all had the utmost respect for him, and this was reciprocated in the way he treated us as his family with care and compassion. May she rest in peace. This is Still Africa. Good morning. We have so much more important news coming to you after the break. Connect Africa, in partnership with Zonaka MLM Holdings, held a broad-based Black economic empowerment dialogue recently to unpack the codes and to see what the impact of BBBEE initiatives have on small Black-owned companies during the pandemic. Have a look at this clip.
Just to give us an overview on the BBBEE legislation and also what is the purpose of enterprise development, what is the purpose of the BEE Commission. Sidi, over to you.
So I'm going to be taking you over the overview of the BEE Act and the ESD element as a whole. So the first slide talks to the background of the commission and where we come from as an institution. So you can see from the slide that we originate from the Constitution of South Africa of 1996 and the Bill of Rights. And then thereafter, the act was taken out of the Constitution and established as its own act within the law refinements of South Africa as the BEE Act 53 of 2003. So post that, there was a lot of misalignment within the sector, the BEE sector, as it is, and through the implementation, where things such as the fronting practices, the misalignment, and the inconsistent in the interpretation took place. So they saw it fit that it's about time that the Act be amended so that it can cater for these new practices that are coming up that and are threatening the effective and efficient implementation and interpretation of the Act. That's when the BE Act came out as Act 46 of 2013. And then there was again of the 24th, it was gazetted on the 24th of October 2014. And then on the 1st of May 2015, the Codes of Good Practice came into practice. So on the 24th of October 2015, this is where the trumping provision came into effect. This is to say that if there's any law that it's in logheads with the BE and it's a BE matter, the BE Act shall prevail. So the main aim is to redress what has been done in the past due to the apartheid era. So in order that the equality and the equity and inclusive economy is created within the economic sphere. In conclusion is to emphasize that BE must not be a company strategy. It must form part of the company strategy and not be a tick box exercise. So the most important thing is to remove obstacles to transformation, including addressing the lack of financial support.
From the small business development, just to take us through in terms of what is it that they're doing as small business development, and also what type of support are they giving to SMMEs? As we know that now during the pandemic, most of SMMEs have closed down and they rely on government to assist them in order for them to be able to come back and participate into the economy.
Essentially, the type of support that we provide to SMMEs is generally around these 5 areas. The first one is, of course, the all-important financial and business development support services to small enterprises in the country. We are also concerned about the provision of infrastructure to small enterprises, of course, in the various sectors of the economy. Colleagues will know that infrastructure is one of the key issues that the small business segment really needs, and the department has put up its hand to say we are more than happy to contribute here. And of course, many businesses have said, yes, sometimes it's very necessary to have financial and non-financial support, but of course, without market access opportunities, the businesses are as good as dead. So we also provide market access opportunities, both in the public and private sectors. We have, over time, tried to prioritize industries and sectors with good job creation potential. Amongst these, we count the manufacturing sector. We also have the agricultural sector. There is also a specific focus on the automotive sector. And of course, lastly, and I'm sure colleagues will recall this, the 6th administration has accentuated this point that we need to make and create hives of economic activity in townships and rural areas. So the department then, together with its agencies, SIDA and SIFA, have developed programs that make a contribution towards the resuscitation of township and rural economies. We have programs that encourage entrepreneurship. As colleagues will know, our entrepreneurial levels in the country are low, and we've been saying if we want to change the space, we need more people coming into the space. And so we really like entrepreneurs that are also in this platform to spread the word that the Department of Small Business Development and its agencies indeed do have programs to support. I just wanted to bring this to your attention to say we have this comprehensive enterprise and supplier development program it's anchored on this enterprise support network. So we use a lot of the CEDA supported incubators and accelerators. Some are private sector funded. So we have brought everyone together to say, what are the services that we need to provide to our entrepreneurs in order to ensure the spirit of entrepreneurship, and that we provide comprehensive ESG support programs for entrepreneurs to be able to partake in private sector value chains. So we have then been able to put together this program. It runs to about 36 months, and by the time you get out of the program, you will be developed and be able to write your own business plan and be able to understand your finances, be able to improve your product. So product development is one of the key services that is provided here, and we will ensure that we provide you with quality standards, and we ensure that in terms of technology and innovation support, you get all of that, so that should you be in a position to seek financial support in the private sector or in the finance market, you are able to put together your pitch deck and are able to articulate your business as well as the product and service offerings that you have. And at the end of the day, we want to ensure that by the time you leave there, at least your business is put in a position where you will be able to grow and expand, and you are ready, if that's what you desire, for export markets and all of that. So that information is provided in the entire program, which runs for 36 months. I will leave it there, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. It's time for us to cross over to the House of Stone, where Talent Gore has the news on the ground. Good morning, Talent. Please take your first story.
Good morning, Aina. Good morning, Ashrin. Okay, let me go ahead. So Zimbabwe recorded 0 COVID-19 deaths for the first time since June 13, 2021. Apparently, the last time we had recorded 0 COVID-19 deaths was on June 13, and this development comes after a dangerous third wave that saw almost 3,000 people dying, and it buttresses the view that the third wave was slowly declining. The accumulated deaths in 4 months stretching from June 13 to October 4 accounted for 63% of Zimbabwe's total deaths since the first case was recorded in March 2020. So in total, 2,910 people died in the 4 months, whilst 1,717 died in the other 15 months, stretching from March 2020 to July 2021. So July was the worst month for COVID-19 deaths in Zimbabwe, as it accumulated 1,743 deaths. So apparently right now, as it stands, we are recording a decline in the COVID-19 deaths, and the government is saying that the third wave is slowly declining. So yeah, that is all on that story.
All right, now in your second story, South Africa bans Zimbabwe health workers. Could you please expand on this?
So the South Africa Public Health Department has started rejecting job applications from health workers from Zimbabwe. They claimed that the Public Health Department of South Africa is claiming that Zimbabwe is not on the list, is not on the list, and is not part of the countries that they are currently recruiting people from. They are saying that Zimbabwe is currently facing a staff crisis due to migration, so they are not employing people from Zimbabwe as it stands. So the Zimbabwe Nurses Association of Zimbabwe President Enoch Dongo said that if this is true, then it gives the view that Sadaq and AU protocols and employment protocols, South Africa is currently going against those, because Sadaq and AU, they say that anyone in Africa can be employed anyway freely, and there's nothing or no one who can stop that. So the Zimbabwe Nurses Association has said that if this is true, then what South Africa is doing is illegal. It's not allowed by Sadaq and AU. Apparently, this was revealed in letters which were sent out to the applicants, by the Public Health Department of South Africa.
All right, women form Chipinge district petition government over evictions.
So we have seen that in Chipinge, people are being evicted from their customary lands. They are paving the Chipinge Road District, said that they should be evicted so that they pave way for green fuel sugar plantations. So the women in Chipinge, they have petitioned government and demanded a stop to the removal of locals from their customary lands. They said that the foreigners who are coming in, the investors who are coming into their customary lands, they are using force and violence, and they are also slashing down their crops, and they are confiscating their livestock and beating up residents in those areas. So they petitioned the government, and they wrote a letter to the Minister of Lands to stop the evictions, to stop the use of violence by the investors who are coming in to Chipinge for different investments. So the case has been sent to the lands minister. So we are soon to see what the government will do about it, will do concerning the issue.
All right, thank you very much, Talent, for bringing us the news from Zimbabwe.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
It's always good having you on Africa Good Morning. After the break, we'll be talking about keeping schools safe during COVID-19. But prior to that, your weather forecast. What steps should schools take to keep students safe from COVID-19? What about vaccination? How can families and communities keep themselves safe as schools open? Dr. Maria van Kerkhove explains in Science in 5. Next up.
We're talking today about keeping schools, students, school staff, and families safe in this phase of the pandemic. Hello and welcome to Science in 5. I'm Vismita Gupta-Smith. We're talking to Dr. Maria van Kerkhove today. Welcome, Maria. Maria, as many countries are putting in place measures to protect students and staff and also larger communities safe and keeping them safe during this phase of the pandemic, what are WHO's recommendations to keep communities safe?
That's right, Vismita. Many countries have put in place and are putting in place precautions to keep schools open safely during the COVID-19 pandemic. Schools operate in communities, and the first thing is to make sure that we try to drive transmission down as much as possible in those communities, because the individuals that work at those schools live in the communities. Second is to ensure that we have good systems in place within the school system to be able to monitor the health of the students and staff. This is a plan to be able to detect cases, to ensure that children who are unwell stay at home, to make sure that there's good communication with the students themselves, the faculty, as well as the parents, so that they know what to do if a student is unwell or if a teacher is unwell, to make sure that there's good provisions within the schools to minimize the opportunity for spread of the COVID-19 virus. This is about disinfection, it's about improving ventilation, about distancing, about wearing of masks, and if there's vaccines available in the areas, to make sure that the vaccination is undertaken in those communities among the priority groups who live there.
Maria, during this pandemic, we've seen how important it is for students to have that continuity of education. Let's go a little deeper into what steps a school should take if a case is detected.
So that is a great question. It is really important that students have that continuity in terms of their education and their safety and well-being. It's about having a plan in place. First of all, if students are feeling unwell, we recommend that they stay home and that they're cared for by a parent or a guardian at home. If there are cases in the school, they need to be able to be detected so that they can receive the proper care, they can receive a test, they can receive the proper care that they're needed based upon the symptoms that they have. And then we recommend there to be contact tracing. So the same as we do in the general community, if there is a case that is identified, what we want to do is make sure that we prevent the opportunity from that virus from transmitting from one individual to another. So it's important to identify the contacts of those children, and those children be in quarantine for a certain number of days so that they don't have the opportunity to spread should they be infected. But all of that requires detailed planning by the school. It requires good communication with the students themselves, first of all, to take the measures to prevent themselves from getting infected and passing to others, but also to know what to do if they are feeling unwell or if they happen to be a case.
Maria, what about the importance of vaccination?
It's really important to be vaccinated when it's your turn. We do have a global shortage of vaccines around the world, and we don't have good vaccine equity. We want to make sure those who are most at risk receive the vaccine first. Older individuals, people with underlying conditions, health workers, but we also include teachers in a priority group. So there may be different provisions available of vaccines in the area where you live, but WHO's recommendation is to get vaccinated when it's your turn and to make sure that you receive the full course of the vaccination.
Maria, talk to us about how families can keep themselves safe.
Oh, it's really important that families also do everything that they can to keep themselves and their loved ones safe. It first starts with prevention. Everything that you can do to minimize your exposure to this virus is what WHO recommends. This is about distancing, it's about good hand hygiene, it's about wearing a mask, making sure that when you're wearing a mask, you have clean hands, and you wear a well-fitted mask over your nose and your mouth to avoid crowded spaces, to stay home if you're unwell. All of these factors matter in your home, in your community, as well as at school. It starts about keeping yourself safe. Remember that anyone can be infected with the SARS-CoV-2 virus, including children, and they can pass the virus to others. So it's really important that families discuss what these risks are, because it depends on the age of the child and what they are able to do in terms of keeping themselves safe. It will be difficult for younger children to adhere to wearing a mask, for example, or keeping their distance. So it's important to have that open dialogue and talk about the risks depending on their age. But there's a lot that everybody can do to keep themselves safe. From the youngest child to the oldest adult, all of us have a role to play in reducing the possibility of the spread of COVID-19.
Thank you, Maria. That was Science in 5 today. Until next time then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stick with science.
Welcome back to Africa. Good morning. It's time for us to give you your economic news stories for the day. And we start off in Botswana as Moana mine set to bounce back on Dutch deal. A Dutch wealth manager is moving to take over Moana mine, clearing most of the 800 million puller owed to various creditors, pumping in more working capital, as well as funding the purchase of new plants and equipment. Business Week has learned that preparations for Moana mine's reopening are progressing steadily, with 328 workers employed on the site. About 400 workers lost their jobs when the copper mine near Dukwi went into judicial management in December 2018. At the time, the troubled mine had been resuscitated from a liquidation dating back to 2015. Meanwhile, Max Power Limited, workers and other stakeholders will be hoping the latest attempt to resurrect the mine is more sustainable. Copper prices have been trending at high levels this year on the back of the global recovery and inventory shortfalls in key markets.
Towards improving the governance of artisanal redwood exploitation in the DRC. Improving the governance of artisanal logging of redwood muluka was at the heart of the concern of an NGO in Kinshasa campaigning against the illegal exploitation of the product in the DRC. They made this plea during a conference held jointly with the National Network for Independent Observation at the headquarters of the renovated Red Climate Working Group platform. This non-profit organization is formal and set the prerequisite of resuming the cutting of the species of wood in the former province of Katanga, notes a dispatch from the ACP. It is a question of constituting an effective collaborative bridge between one On the other hand, the supervisory ministry and the central administration in charge of the forest, and on the other hand, the provincial governor and the provisional forestry administration. This gateway, they explained, will make the process of granting authorization for the purchase, the sale and export of timber, certificates of origin for timber, phytosanitary certificates, and site certificates more efficient.
Credit to businesses up 9.5% in Eswatini. Despite an unfavorable economic climate, there is still appetite for credit among businesses. Credit extended to businesses settled at 7.1 billion emalangeni at the end of August this year. It was a fall by 0.5% month on month, but an increase of 9.5% year on year. This is per the monthly statistical report from the Central Bank of Eswatini. Credits to some subsectors increased over the review period. These included distribution and tourism, transport and communication, real estate and construction. Meanwhile, credit extended to the private sector increased by 0.1%. Credit extended to other sectors expanded by 1.5% over the month under review. However, compared to August last year, it's declined by 1.2% to reach 1.5 billion emalangeni at the end of August 2021. Accounting for the month-on-month growth was an increase in all components of credit to other sectors. Consequently, credit to local government, public non-financial corporations, and other financial corporations rose by 9.7%, 1.3%, and 1.2% respectively.
Australia's South 32 buys additional stake in Mozambique aluminium smelter. Australian diversified mine South 32 Ltd said on Thursday it exercised its rights to buy an additional 25% stake in Mozambique-based Mozal Aluminium, a move that will increase its annual output from the smelter by 15%. South 32 bought the additional stake in the aluminium smelter for $250 million for Mitsubishi Corp Metal Holdings, raising its holding in the smelter to just over 72%. Mozal Aluminium also counts South Africa's Industrial Development Corp, and the Mozambique government is as its shareholder.
In the last of our economic news stories, South Africa will appeal court ruling on black mine ownership. South Africa's government will appeal 2 court rulings that struck down charges to rules requiring mining firms to be at least 26% owned by black investors in perpetuity, and declared it unlawful for payouts to the coronavirus-struck tourism industry to be limited to black businesses. President Cyril Ramaphosa gave the undertaking during a meeting with business lobby groups this week, where concerns around efforts to revive the economy were discussed, according to Gange Matabane, the chief executive officer of the Black Business Council. Ramaphosa told the gathering that government's efforts were severely constrained by industrial-scale looting that took place under the previous administration, said Bonang Mohale, the head of Business Unity South Africa. The business groups told Ramaphosa the country needed to create at least 1 million jobs a year, she said. All right, that brings us to the end of our economic news stories. You know what comes up next? Economic indicators. Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. It's that time again when we bring you sports updates up to date as always. Next up, our first story, Namibia in running World Cup final. A bunch of ordinary Namibians upstaged a Usain Bolt-led Jamaica to make it to the final four of the 2021 Vitality Running World Cup after finishing second in the last 16 phase on Sunday. The team of 920 runners from Namibia are in the championship round of the world's largest mass participation running event by running a combined total of 12,969 kilometers in just 6 weeks from 28 September to 3 October, averaging 14 kilometers each. With over 100,000 runners in this year's tournament and over 2.8 million kilometers already run, the race is on in the final few days to see which country will be crowned Vitality Running World Cup winner. Each country has a captain, such as Usain Bolt for Jamaica, Dame Jessica Ennis-Hill for England, and Wayne van Niekerk for South Africa. Namibia's 2021 captain is Gabriel Ikena. The free-to-enter open-to-all tournament is designed for an environmentally friendly future. Participants can run from their front doors, tracking each kilometer they run using a free companion app on a smartphone or their wearable tracker.
Race for World Cup berths heats up in Europe. While a select quartet of Europe's heavyweight battle for the Nations League crown this week, Germany, England, Portugal and Denmark will train their sight on locking down a place at the next year's World Cup in Qatar. European champions, Italy, Spain, France and Belgium take center stage contesting the final four in Milan and Turin, but 5 of the 10 automatic World Cup qualifying spots could be secured come next Tuesday. Denmark appear the most likely to complete the job, knowing wins over Moldova and Australia will secure top spot in the Group 5. Four-time World Championships Germany has bounced back from the shock loss to Northern Macedonia in March, surging 4 points clear in Group G after Hansi Flick began to reign last month with 3 wins from 3, including a 6-0 thumping of Armenia.
Now in our next story, Zambia and Malawi complete semis. Zambia and Malawi will complete the semi-final lineup at the 2021 COSAFA Women's Championship after the Copper Queens won their final Group C clash against Uganda at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium on Tuesday. Captain Grace Tanda scored the only goal in the contest that ensured Zambia claimed top spot in their pool and at the same time confirmed Group A's Malawi as the best placed runner-up. It means Zambia will take on Group B winners Tanzania in the first of the semi-finals today, kicking off at 1200 CAT, with hosts and holders South Africa to clash with Malawi in the second game, 15:30 Central African Time. Zambia had to work hard to beat the Ugandans, who needed a victory to advance, but battled against the organized Copper Queens. They are the second side to complete the pool stage with a 100% record after Tanzania, with both teams yet to concede a goal in the competition to date. It sets up for a thrilling semi-final contest.
Delhi Capitals down CSK to go top. The Delhi Capitals secured a nervous 3-wicket victory over Chennai Super Kings in the top of the table clash in the Indian Premier League at the Dubai International Cricket Stadium in Dubai on Monday. An excellent bowling display from Delhi helped restrict the Super Kings to just 136 for 5 after Rishbhi Pant had won the toss and sent MS Dhoni's men in to bat first. In reply, the Chennai bowlers pushed Pant's men all the way, with the Kasigo Rabada hitting his first ball for 4 to win the game as Delhi ended on 139 for 7 with 2 balls to spare. And those have been our sports stories. We'll be right back after the break.
Africa Good Morning has been streaming live from 7 a.m., bringing you the news and current affairs from the Sadaq region and beyond. Next up, we're going to be giving you the headlines from today's top stories. Virus is not controlled, nor pandemic defeated. Sadaq in Cabo Delgado. Algeria escalates France dispute with flight ban. Angolan vessels accused of stealing Namibian fish. Moana mine set to bounce back on Dutch deal. And in sport, Namibia in a running World Cup final. Those have been our stories.
Thank you very much for joining us on this edition of Africa Good Morning. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time, same place. Please visit our website. It's called OneUp2. We also welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can email them to us. Our email is agm_2centsworth@nmh.com.na. Alternatively, we are on Facebook and Twitter, and that's at Africa Good Morning. Do not forget to play your part. We are still in the middle of a pandemic. Please get vaccinated, wear your mask, and avoid unnecessary public gatherings. And on that note, is all our love, all our light.
Until tomorrow, Swera Jaganaka.